first seed for the idea for this book, I guess, was planted in my mind 10 years ago. I used to make documentary films, and a friend of mine had asked me to consult on a film that he had seen from Mongolia. It was called State of Dogs. And it dealt with this idea that in Mongolia there's a belief that the next incarnation for a dog is as a man. And I didn't get involved with the film, but for some reason the idea stayed with me, and I knew at some point I was going to do something with this idea. I thought it was such a great idea. And then a few years ago, I saw Billy Collins, the poet, read at a Seattle Arts and Lectures event. And he read a poem that he had written called The Revenant, which is Words from the Dead. And it's told from the point of view of a dog that's been recently euthanized. And it starts, I believe it starts like this. This is the dog you put to sleep, come back to tell you this one simple thing. I never liked you, not one bit. And by the time he was done reading this poem, the entire auditorium was just hooting with laughter. And I realized then that's what I needed to do. Tell a story about a dog who's going to be reincarnated as a man from the dog's point of view. So I had the idea, the framework, I had a character, and I knew what was going to kind of happen, but I didn't really have a plot. Now, when I moved back to Seattle, I lived in New York for a while, and then I moved back to Seattle, where I'm originally from. And I started doing some amateur race car driving. And I would sit around with some of my friends who were race car drivers, and we would have beers and talk about the mental aspects of race car driving: balance, anticipation, patience, and how if we could apply those same principles to our lives at home with our families, we'd be really much better people. And then it all fell into place for me. Suddenly I had a dog whose master was a race car driver. The dog believes he's going to be reincarnated as a man, and he studies everything that his master does in terms of race car driving so that when he comes back as a man, he'll be a really good person. Well, a dog has limitations and advantages. Limitations are, of course, a dog can't speak. Dog doesn't have opposable thumbs. A dog can't communicate his thoughts other than with gestures. The advantages are that a dog has special access that people don't necessarily get. People will say things in front of dogs because they're just dogs. They don't understand us, right? So I was able to work with this a lot in terms of giving the reader a special viewpoint into the narrative. Enzo would go off with Zoe, the daughter, and would go spend the weekend with the grandparents. And we would learn what the grandparents are really doing, whereas Denny, the father, who wasn't there, was completely in the dark. So in that sense, it was a lot of fun kind of playing with this unique kind of fly-on-the-wall point of view. Enzo has a lot of important lessons that he teaches us in this book. My favorite one is that which you manifest is before you, which is one of Enzo's mantras. And what he's saying is that we are in charge of our lives. We create our own destiny. And we have to take responsibility. It's a big job. And if we delegate that responsibility to the people around us, well, we get what we deserve. So if we really truly want something, we have to set our intentions on that, and we have to do everything it takes to get to it. You know, it's not a new thought. John Lennon, you know, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. It's all about how the energy we put out to the world is what the world becomes for us.